Bueno, pues me da muchísimo gusto estar aquí con ustedes el día de hoy para presentarles a nuestro amigo, uno de nuestros mentores, que es Claude Ouimet, que ya ha participado con nosotros y ha compartido este espacio de enseñanza, aprendizaje de los diplomados ya varios años. Creo que han sido como 5 años con nosotros y le agradecemos muchísimo su presencia aquí, que lo hace de manera voluntaria y de manera altruista y que tiene muchísimo que enseñar. Yo me voy a permitir leerles a ustedes esta semblanza de Claude. Es el vicepresidente ejecutivo y gerente general en la empresa Interface Floor para Canadá y América Latina. Interface Floor es hoy líder mundial en la fabricación de alfombras modulares. El liderazgo de Claude guía a esta compañía en Canadá y América Latina, ofreciendo el enfoque estratégico necesario para seguir aumentando al máximo todas las oportunidades y ayudar a Interface Floor a enfrentar los desafíos para el crecimiento en estos importantes mercados. En sus 21 años de carrera dentro de la compañía ha ocupado roles en las áreas de fabricación y ventas. Interface Floor está profundamente inmersa en la misión de convertirse en una empresa sostenible, liderando un esfuerzo mundial para el diseño de procesos de manufactura y de desarrollo sostenibles para el año 2020. Los conocimientos de Claude en fabricación, ventas y marketing le dan una perspectiva singular para integrar la sostenibilidad en toda la cultura corporativa de Interface Floor. Él aporta su pasión por el medio ambiente en la aplicación de prácticas no solo a la tecnología y los procesos de fabricación, sino también a las estrategias de ventas y los conceptos de marketing que reflejan la misión ecológica de la compañía. En abril de 2007, Claude se certificó como presentador del Climate Project, Proyecto del Clima, que le da derecho a compartir el poderoso e inspirador mensaje del señor Al Gore. En diciembre de 2007, el señor Fabio Barbosa, presidente de la Santander Banco Real, el banco más grande e influyente de todo Brasil, invitó a Claude para convertirse en un miembro de su consejo consultivo sobre sustentabilidad. Como tal, Claude es uno de los honorables miembros de la Junta, reconocido por su promoción de la sostenibilidad en todo el Brasil, y tiene la oportunidad de compartir experiencias con otros miembros del directorio y para mostrar cómo los principios de desarrollo sostenible pueden aplicarse en las actividades del día a día en las empresas. En julio de 2009, Claude se unió al Consejo Consultivo Empresarial Nacional de la Fundación David Suzuki. La misión de la Fundación David Suzuki es para proteger la diversidad de la naturaleza y nuestra calidad de vida ahora y para el futuro. En noviembre de 2009, Claude fue nominado al Consejo de Directores de Natural Step. La misión de este consejo es la de ayudar a las comunidades y las empresas a dar pasos significativos hacia la sostenibilidad. Nacido en Montreal, Quebec, Claude ahora vive en Newman, Georgia, con su esposa Anne y sus 2 hijas, Shani y Talia. Pues muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Claude, for being with us again. And I'm sure you're going to inspire us today as you have inspired us all these years and years to come as well. Thank you.
First of all, I feel like I need absolutely to apologize for speaking to you in English. I could speak to you in French if you want to, but just to address myself to you in English, so I apologize for not being able to speak Spanish. It's always fun for me to be here. I come here once a year, not into Mexico. I come here to Mexico maybe 2-3 times a year, but to this specific university to talk about sustainability, for which I have a great passion. So it's fun. I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope that you're going to get mentally engaged. And what I'd like you to do is just right now, just give you an authorization to yourself to be inspired, because that's the start of everything. So if you just allow yourself to just say, I'm going to open my mind, I'm going to put my mind in suspension, and I'm just going to hear it and see where that takes us. I'm a businessman. I hug trees maybe on weekends, but on the week, I'm a business person. I'm responsible for the P&L of the operation of Interface Floor for Canada and Latin America. And I want to talk about the experience of a company that has adopted the principle of sustainability and how successful they've been and how. And so, and I want to talk about you, and I want to talk about the power that you have. Well, before we get into this, though, and I'll talk about biomimicry, I'll talk a bit about life cycle assessment, but before we get into this, I just would like to show you a few slides, and just to give you kind of a perspective. Let's see if that works. Oop. There. It's our planet. It's a beautiful place. And we don't seem to really truly understand how beautiful it is. If nothing else, it's unique. And when I say unique, it means there is no other planet like Earth. And this is a galaxy, our galaxy, part of it. This is truly the entirety of our galaxy, and this is another galaxy. And the interesting point about all this is because if you were to count all the grain of sand of all the beaches on our planet, we couldn't come close to the amount of planet in the universe. So there's countless numbers of planets. But the thing is that the only one that we could call home is this one. And it's amazing that through this, and this is Earth, all of this is other planets, but this one is Earth. Small. All the joy, all the wars, all the misery, and all the joy took place on this little dot for billions of years. And here we are on this planet in 2012. And we realize that the planet, our home, is in trouble. And it's not so much nature that's in trouble, because the lakes and the mountains are not in trouble. We are. We always say, well, the ocean is in trouble. No, the oceans would do just fine. We are in trouble because we are polluting everything. And that's a bit of what we're going to be talking about. But I just wanted to position the conversations on where is it? Why are we talking about this? Because we need to have a sense of urgency. But when I present this to people, and I have 349 slides of the inconvenient truth. Have you seen the movie, The Inconvenient Truth? Raise your hand, those who've seen it. Okay. But I'll spare you. I'm not going to show you the 349 slides. So I want to show you a quick video, just to position ourselves a bit.
Tomó billones de años, pero fue perfecto. Nueva vida nacía de la vieja. Una parte estaba ardiendo, otra estaba congelada. Una mezcla de elementos atmosféricos de constante movimiento mantuvieron la temperatura perfecta para conservar el delicado balance. Es como un milagro. Y cuando uno ve que todo funciona perfectamente, se da cuenta de que verdaderamente lo es. Pero hoy la Tierra se está calentando. Si continúa así, lo que apagó nuestra sed inundará la Tierra. Lo que llenó nuestros platos se convertirá en polvo. No es culpa de la naturaleza, sino nuestra. La naturaleza no lo puede detener, nosotros sí. Pero tenemos que empezar ya.
It just tells you a bit of the story. It resumes pretty much everything. So, business people act as if this planet, the resource of this planet, is somewhat unlimited. We could stretch this because we take everything from the earth, the minerals, the water, we pollute the air, everything that we touch. It seems like we think that this is forever, and there'll always be resources. And now we're starting to realize that there's a defined amount of resource that we have on this planet, and there is no other more. You know, like there's no more of it. When people talk to me about oil, for instance, and we're talking about what's left, and I'm saying, wow, that's a different way of thinking. Here's my way of thinking, that if we were to burn half of what's left, we wouldn't be able to breathe. So it's not about what's left, it's more about if we burn half of what's left, we're going to change the composition of the atmosphere in such a bad way that we're going to have a problem just breathing, because we're changing the chemical composition of our atmosphere, and that creates global warming. And global warming creates climate change. So you see, it's big. But when I did presentations about global warming, people at the end of the presentation are just like, it's so big. It is so big that they're asking themselves the question, how can I, me, a person, change this? I feel powerless. And I'm here to tell you how powerful you are. Let's see why. First of all, sustainability is not an intellectual conversation. It's not an intellectual issue, and it's not a political issue. It's a moral issue. If I say it's a political issue, it's a scientific issue, it's an intellectual issue, then we categorize this conversation in our brain in a certain way. But what if I say to you that it's a moral issue, then suddenly it touches us at a different level. And it truly is a moral issue. It is a moral issue because all future lives, whether it is human life or any other type of life, depends on what we are going to do now, during our lifetime. So within sustainability, there's two factors. There's the mechanical part of sustainability, which is the measurements of everything. I mean by that, we measure the environmental impact that we have of the product we buy, the product we manufacture, the product, everything. So we have that aspect. I'm going to talk about it a bit, sometimes in that presentation. But what I want to talk to you about is the human factor. Because without this, it's not the mechanics that's going to solve the problem. It is really us. So, I'm going to show you a video, and it's not included in it, but I just want to show you this to show you the power that you have. Sorry for this. That's interesting. Okay. Normally, all right. So we have the power, and we all have individually this power, and it's the power to be inspired. Why is it so important to allow ourselves to be inspired? It's because if we want to change the way we think, we have to challenge what we believe to be true. Like one said, it is not so much what we don't know that creates a problem for us. It's what we know to be true that happens to be absolutely not true. That is more damaging than not knowing something. So the power of inspiration is really what it takes for us to open up and see all of what we are and see the possibilities of solutions in what we do and the way we're doing it. We have also the power of the collective. We cannot subsist as one. We are one when we're all together, and that all-togetherness becomes one. That's how, because look at us. We are not strong as a species. We're not fast. The only reasons why we've been able to subsist and exist and thrive in nature is because we have the power of the collectiveness, of working together, cooperating, understanding, learning, and sharing. That made us survive through all the years. We have also the power to think. All of us have the power to think. But in order to think right, you have to have a sense of belief, your values at the right place. But we all have the power to think. And we also have the power of creativity. How many of you are architects or designers? Raise your hand. And I know there's a friend over here is an engineer. So who has also the power of creativity. But architects, designers, engineers, you have a power, the power of imagining, of creating, of visions of what a building could be. But not just a building, but how people will live in the building. So creativity, but where do you get your creativity? Creativity does not come from the knowledge that you have. It comes from here. It's come from empathy. It comes from an empathy that feels about what other people live and would like to live, creating an environment for happiness. Because nobody talks about the upside of sustainability, but I'll tell you what I think about it, is that if we were to live in a world that would be more sustainable practices, we would be happier than what we're living today in the values that we have today. We also have the ability to act with purpose. Act with purpose is to define ourselves based on what we truly are. Not on what people would like us to be, or not on what they think of us, depending on how we dress. No. But it's really acting with a sense of purpose. Gandhi had a sense of purpose. He said that he could change his world, which was India, and he did, by himself. And we always think that we don't have that power, and yet we do, because of all the things I said. And one of the things that Gandhi had, he had the power of conviction. So when you're an architect, a designer, an engineer, and you're talking to a client that doesn't quite get it, well, it's your power of convictions against his power of conviction. Not so much the power of money, but power of conviction. And it all depends how you're going to use that power. And I'll show you a little later. So once you allow yourself to be inspired by a child, by a story, by whatever, a speaker, a book. Once you allowed yourself to be inspired, suddenly you change your field of attention. What is a field of attention? If you are in design or if you are in architecture, you walk into a new city, the first thing that comes at you is the buildings and how it works. But I'll show you that you're all driving a car. And I would say to you that if you're driving your car on the road and somebody else in that same car is passing you by, your mind is going to go through an analysis, and you'd have not given your mind permission to do that. It just goes. So somebody else drives the same car as you drive, and it passes you, and you automatically says, oh, that's the same car as mine. This car is newer than my car. Or my car is newer than that car. And then you know it just because the fender is different, but very little difference between a 2012 and a 2011, but you know it. And the interesting thing about it is that, and by the way, at the back of the car there's some letters, and that will tell you, oh, that car's got more attributes than my car. Or maybe I have more attributes than that car. My point is this: I could be sitting in your car and my mind is not going to go through this. Why? I don't drive your car. I don't own your car. And the reasons why you're going through this is because maybe you're still paying for the car. You selected the car, the color, interior, exterior. It represents a bit of who you are. That's the field of attention. So I'm saying to you, sustainability, as an architect or a designer, if you own it here and not just here, you will change your field of attention so there's things that are going to jump at you. Like a plastic bottle. Whoop, jump at me. You know? So practices, things, and then you look at products and you say, this, beautiful. But it's just a matter of time and it's going to become waste. So what are we going to do with it? What are we going to do with the product that we spec in the buildings that we're building today? In 20 years from now, even less than that, what are we going to do with all these products? Can't we design things so that it could be recycled, reusable, dismantleable? We build things to last. It's a good thing. But at the same time, if we have it here, we will design products and interior and buildings and cities so that we have in mind that at one point we're going to have to recycle, separate to recycle, and not put it all in landfill. Because we know that it's not the right solution. For instance, carpet will be in landfill forever plus a day. Because it's not biodegradable. So why are we constantly using virgin material to create stuff? Okay, that's a field of attention. When we talk about sustainability to our clients, you to your clients, you've got to meet them where they are. Not where you would like them to be, but where they are. That means you ask questions. What do you think about this? Why do you think that way? Do you have any children? You have to engage the conversation really as a human being and not just as a person that's just in for money. And just bring the conversations, but we have to hear them. You know, there's some people sometime on a plane that tells me that they don't believe in global warming. And I'm saying, really? And it's tough for me to hear it. But I ask them, why do you think that way? Why do you think that? And then they explain to me. And I said, have you ever challenged yourself on what you believe to be true? The fact that you think you have, that it doesn't exist, that would be an interesting conversation with yourself and say, can I challenge myself on what I believe? Or is this just convenient for me to constantly reinforcing my belief that this is true? It doesn't exist. So, meeting people where they are. And this is a fantastic individual. His name was Ray Anderson. Ray Anderson founded Interface Floor. We make carpet tile. A businessman like I've never met in my life. A true blue competitive individual in business. But in 1994, he changed just by one question that one customer asked one question, power of one, and it changed his life and it changed the entire life of our company, our people, and the industry and many other industry. One guy, this guy, Ray Anderson. He read a book called The Ecology of Commerce. I'll show you a slide of it. And this guy was, after reading the book, realized that what he was doing, making carpet tile in Georgia, was not sustainable at all. that it was not fair. The concept of fairness for the next generation. And he said, it is possible to do well by doing good. Do well by doing good. We are a company that is on NASDAQ. So if it's possible for us to become, then it is possible for anybody, really. We in Georgia, United States, Georgia. This is not the most progressive states there is, and the industry of textile is not the most progressive industry either in terms of manufacturing, not in terms of design, but just in terms of manufacturing. This is the book that he read. When he read it, he was 60 years old, and it changed his life. But I tell you, he had a predisposition to change. Why? Because he had a sense of fairness. And when he realized that the practices that he was doing was against an impacting future generation, that's where he changed. For him, that's what it was. For you, I don't know what it's going to be. But if you open your mind and your heart, it's going to be something. And the beauty about it is that I see people turning from brown to green. I have never met somebody that goes from green to brown. Never. There's got to be a message in this. And there are hundreds of millions of people around the world that are like you, asking questions about what is it that we're doing? Why am I here? And why I'm sensing there's something wrong with our practices. Hundreds of millions of people are asking the same question. So, and there is no leader. Traditionally, human beings have followed leaders. A politician, a general of an army, whatever it was. In this case, hundreds of millions of people are following instinct, but not a leader. That tells you something. That is a systemic change that is really profound. You could read about it, you could read a system thinking, and you'll see that the human species is one, and nature as big as it is also one. Ray Anderson, if you want to read his book, this is his book, his latest book, Confession of a Radical Industrialist, and it gives you pretty much the whole story of how he became and how successful this company has become. And one Earth, zero footprint. And for us, and that's a very important point, you're going to hear a lot of people talk about their companies and what they've done. Don't satisfy yourself with that. It is not enough. Companies that comes to you and says, we have saved water, we have done this, we're using less of that, than we're recycling paper, we're changing the light bulbs, and they could talk to you for an hour about all the great things they've done. It is not an issue anymore. Here's what it is. Here's what you need to ask. What's left to be done? Don't talk to me about what you've done. Talk to me about what's left to be done. Talk to me about what you as a company wants to become and when. Are we talking about 2095, or are we talking in a near future you will change what you are to become a new entity, a new organization that has different values than what they have today? So when somebody comes to you and says how great they are on sustainability, ask them that question. What's the end game for you? And do you have a time, do you have a date in time that says you're going to become that? That's important. For you it is important. Because if you don't hear it, then there's no plan. They're just going with the wind. And if you want to focus on changing something, you got to get a goal that's to say, we're going to do this by 2020. And by the way, for us, to give you a scorecard, we're at 64% on our journey. So we have 8 years to go. But the 8 years that we have to go, we know what we need to do. Because we know that by 2020, if we want to become that, we know what we need to be in 2019, 2018, and etc. till today. So that's why I say to you, we're at 64%. And next year, we need to be at 60, 70%. Sometimes we have great jumps. Sometimes we don't go back, but we have less of a jump from year to year. But overall, we know we're going to be there in 2020. So I think it's important for you to ask the questions when somebody comes to you and say, "What, I'm talking about sustainability. We're so good." Okay, define the end game. Why company needs to? So when you're talking to a potential client, I'm talking to you as business people or future business people. But I see as this and say, what is the value in the traditional area, which is your brand? If you work for an architect, you have a brand. If you work for yourself, you have a brand. By yourself, you have a brand. Who are you? So, reputation is everything. Somebody is here tonight and was here about 2 years ago, my friend over here, and he heard me talk about Walmart. And at that time, I said to him that I had a sport. I hate sports, really. I hate sports. Soccer, football, baseball, name them all. I don't like sport. My sport was to get up in the morning and hate Walmart. It was my sport. Today, I changed this because I see that Walmart is doing a lot. Not enough, but a lot to change. Great stuff. I don't know that they have an end game. I'd like to hear it. I don't know when they're going to totally live up to my expectation as such a big corporation. But nevertheless, they're moving. Cost reduction. Sustainability is a cost reduction. A green building is less in operational cost than a brown building. There's tons of studies about it. You could share that with a potential customer. Now, some people will say, it's going to cost 15% more. That's their belief. They're working on their belief, on that belief, because they don't want to do it. So they're finding excuses, say, it's 15% more. But in fact, if they had this thing here and saying, my kids and the generation after my kids, my own blood, I would like to make a difference for them. Therefore, I'll learn that it's not 15%. We had, in New York, Turner Construction and the people from New York City, and they told us that building or retrofitting a building in New York, or new one or retrofitting one, the cost of turning that building green was no additional cost. In the case in Mexico, may be different from the technology that you need to have, and it's not necessarily easy to bring that technology into Mexico at the same cost as the existing technology. I'll get it. Yes, true. But the fact is, though, green building in Mexico is possible. You don't have to adhere to all of the principles of the LEED. You know what fits in Mexico. So, cost reduction, access to talent. Our company, there's talented people that wants to come to work for Interface. Why? Because there's an alignment of values. It's not just about making money. It is about to be part of something bigger than just making money. A higher purpose to get up in the morning. And you know what's strange about it? I get up in the morning and I don't have the feeling that get up in the morning and say, I gotta work. When you think that you are getting up this morning and you're gonna work today, you're tired at the end of the day. But if you feel that if you convince yourself that you're gonna contribute, not just to yourself, but you're gonna contribute to something that's bigger than you, then you go to bed at night and you're not as tired. So instead of saying, I'm going to work, get in your mind that you're going to contribute. And when you are working on sustainability stuff, whatever you are working on, then suddenly you're not as tired at night because you're contributing to something that you believe in. And that is very rewarding, I tell you. It's extremely rewarding. Associate engagement. The people that you work with, the people that you're going to work for, engagement. It says emotional engagement. Me, I'd like it to see emotional engagement as opposed to associate engagement. Because when your employees or when the people in your company are going to be emotionally engaged, what are they going to do? Emotionally engaged is when you are using all the strength that you have. Strength is this. You are different than I am, and you are different than she is, and you're different. And we could be all architects. We all have knowledge about architecture, let's say. But what makes us unique and significant is the strength that we have. Now imagine that we have, at Interface we're 4,000 people. Imagine that you have 4,000 people with a lot of knowledge, but a common purpose to utilize all our personal strength to work on that purpose. And what is it? Well, one is to make a difference. Secondly, it's to be part of the solution. So imagine that you have an organization that wants to be part of the solution and wants to be part and wants to make a difference. Big, huge. Okay, innovation and knowledge, intellectual capital, knowledge, emotion, creativity, experience, and meaning. It gives people meaning in their life when they're working for something bigger than themselves. It's the same for you. We're all wired the same way. We all want to get to that meaning in our lives. Sustainability is not a way of doing things. It is a way of thinking differently. Organizations that change the way they do things, architectural firms that wants to create new buildings, it's not about doing things differently, it's about thinking differently. And that, I tell you, it changes everything. It changes really everything. The way we think has everything to do with what we believe. All right? A book called The Biology of Belief. Dr. Lipton. It is not our gene, but our beliefs that controls our life. Everything you do has to do with what you believe. Because what you believe brings you to think a certain way. And you'll act on accordingly. And that becomes your values. And with human being, we need to change the way we think. Therefore, how would that be? Well, change the way we think is is to say, when I say something, I don't have to win because you lose. Or you don't win because I lose. This concept of either one has to lose for one has to win is a wrong concept. So I do an exercise with people. I ask people to lay down on the ground at night outside and watch the star. And ask yourself the question, am I looking up at the star? Now most of you would say, of course I'm looking up at the star. I may argue with you and say, no, you're looking down at the star because our planet is round and it turns. So who says we're looking up? Maybe at one point we're looking down. See, different perspective. So the answer to that is not this or that, but it's this and that. That's a new way of thinking. That's where I'm going with this. These are the 7 fronts at Interface, Mount Sustainability. These are the 7 fronts that we've said that if we were to execute this, we would be there in 2020. So quickly, zero waste, obviously. If you create waste that is not food for something else, that is a waste. Benign emission. If you create benign emission, you're in trouble. So what do you need to do to reduce emissions? And we've done it. Renewable energy. Yes. It's without saying. Okay. Closing the loop. Closing the loop. That's an interesting part. Closing the loop means when I see people saying our product is recyclable. Okay. Great. Are you recycling it? No? Well, then don't talk about it. What's the point of telling me that it's recyclable if you don't recycle it? And they're making me believe that they're doing something that they're actually not doing. So, recyclable. We recycle all carpet, not just the carpet that we produce, that we have produced, but all carpet. So we shave the face, we take the yarn, it's a fluff, we ship that to our manufacturer, and of yarn, and then they ship us back a new yarn. The backing is the same. But here's the interesting thing, thinking differently, okay? The clients that we have that have our product, they are the supplier of the new raw material. And the suppliers that we have that supplies us the yarn, now they're customers of ours because we could sell them that fluff to them or to somebody else. So customers are becoming supplier, and suppliers are becoming customers. It's a different way of thinking. You see, when you're getting into this, you're exploring a whole world, and your field of attention goes, and it feeds you, and you're learning. So, resource efficiency, transportation, sensitizing stakeholders, that's a very important point. Stakeholders, what is a stakeholders? Stakeholders is shareholders, suppliers, employees, and clients. You cannot systematically only think about the shareholders, but not thinking of the stakeholders. That's a very important point, and I'll talk a bit about it later. But redesigning commerce is all what I've said. It's the relationship that we have as a supplier, as a customer, and all the chain, the supply chain is changing in the way you think. And that creates by itself a differential, creates something special. Because when people perceive of you, feels from you, sense from you that you're different in that way, it connects with you. We call this mind share. As an architect, what could you do? But I want to bring this to think overall environmental footprint versus single product attributes. What I mean by this is this. We have to have a more holistic view of products. Like cars. Cars, people say cars. Yeah, how many kilometers can I go with 1 liter of gas? Oh, it's great. What a way of analyzing stuff. Great. Then you say, okay, how heavy is that car? 3,000 pounds to move a person who weighs 110 pounds. Whoa, there's a disbalance there. 3,000 pounds to move a person that's weight 100 pounds, 150, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. So when we have a holistic view, a car, well, it takes more energy to create all the parts that goes in the car and the assemble of the car than the car will use as fuel. We never talk about how much energy did it take to create the car. We're only focusing on how much am I going to be able to run with the car. See, asking ourselves some questions and thinking differently is where we're going to go. Okay, life cycle assessment. How many of you are familiar with life cycle assessment, LCA? Raise your hand. Okay. As architects, as designers, as engineers, it is extremely important because it is the only way today that you could see the transparency of an organization that claims sustainability and how they're doing against a specific matrix. The only way this thing works is if it's like life cycle assessment is a scientific thing. It's a university thing. We have chairs. You have university and chairs in that university on life cycle assessment. In Mexico, there's a person that has a doctorate on sustainability, on life cycle assessment. That means a lot. In Montreal, they produce PhD on life cycle assessment, the engineering department of Université de Montréal. So, life cycle assessment has to do with science. It is to evaluate the environmental impact of everything as close as possible to it. That means the raw material. So let's say we use nylon. What gets into the nylon? What are the chemicals that gets into nylon? What's the environmental impact of making that product? What's the toxicity of those chemicals that the nylon will use? That's what we need to know. And that's what is available today. So ask your suppliers, do you have a life cycle assessment? If they say no, you could ask them, you say, you know what? In 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever time you want to give them, say, you know what? If you don't have your life cycle assessment in 4 years, 5 years from now, I will go with somebody else that has it as principles. If the governments in Canada and the government in the United States, the government in Mexico, around the world would impose this, we would change the world instantly. If you don't have a life cycle assessment of your chair, you cannot sell me that chair. Get your life cycle assessment because I want to buy a chair that has the less environmental impact. Does that cost me more or less? It won't cost you more. at all. So how you turn green? By just asking the right question. We're green, and we're not more expensive than our competitors. We have to compete. So to think that it's more expensive, it's not quite right. Especially not when you're competing with everybody. But if government is asking for procurement, if you have a company, and I understand some people here works for a company, you go to your procurement people and say, you know what, could you ask the questions? Do you have a life cycle assessment? Because we would like to buy stuff that will help us turn green a bit at no extra cost. But what you're going to learn from the companies that are going to present you the life cycle assessment, you're going to learn a lot. Okay, so this is just a quick what it is, and there's too many words. Life cycle assessment is a scientific tool used the evaluation of the environmental burden or associated with the product. You could read a lot on this issue of life cycle assessment, and it will tell you how it measures against global warming potential, and then you have climate change, and then you have acidifications, and then you have the pollution of the water, all of that stuff. It'll be there. This is an example of life cycle assessment. At Interface, I'm telling you this not to impress you. I'm just telling you this, that if it exists, it is then possible for anybody to do it. By the end of 2012, already today, we have life cycle assessment for a group of our products. But by the end of 2012, all the products of Interface worldwide will have their life cycle assessment. We use it to measure ourselves against ourselves. But we share the information with anybody. And if you go online at interfacesustainability.com, you will have all that information. We are as transparent as, like, that's our middle name. We want people to know. We want people to inform people about what is possible. A new way of thinking, and that's, I hear that on many, some people come to me and say, how much did it cost you to turn green? And I said, well, you're talking to me, and then I sense that you're not thinking the same way I think. Because the way I think is, what's the cost of not doing it, as opposed to what's the cost of doing it? And if you really analyze the cost of not doing it, it is way greater than the cost of doing it. So, quickly, I want to go quickly on this because I show this just because people ask me, says, well, show me what you've done. Okay, I'll do it. So, here's what it is. $405 million avoided by Interface by being green. Now, these numbers have been audited. We're under Sarbanes-Oxley in the United States because we're a publicly traded company. If I were to tell you the number like that, I could, A, one, lose my job quickly, and secondly, we would have the entire accounting people working against us. $405 million, that's at the end of 2008. And at the end of 2011, we're over $500 million of money that we saved. Do you know how much carpet we need to sell to make a profit of $500 million? A lot. A lot. You have to produce a lot of beer to make it that much profit. You know what I'm saying? So to think that it's costly, it is the wrong way of asking the question. All right. We have reduced 175 million pounds of reclaimed carpet and carpet tile, 72% reduction of water usage, 34% reduction of greenhouse gas. Those are 2008 number. I'm too lazy to change it. 44% energy because it doesn't mean anything to me, really. Those are numbers. It shows you our intention. But if I wouldn't have told you that where we want to be in 2020, it would maybe mean something. But because I told you where we want to go, it's not as important. It takes courage to change before the need to change. So we have a choice of changing now on our own pace or having to change very quickly if something happens. And what change do we are looking for? Stop focusing on the parts and start seeing from the whole. Those are the essence of fundamental change. Look at it from a holistic view on everything. And the more you're going to, and we're so good at analyzing the itty-bitty parts of everything, but we don't understand how it all works. I'll give you an example of this. Tires are part of a car, but the car is not part of the tire. Easy. But in nature, every part of my body is part of nature, and nature is all in me. Everything that is alive on this planet, the parts are in the whole, and the whole are in every parts. Think about it that way. We're all linked. I'm breathing, you're breathing the same air. The water you drink existed on this planet for millions of years. You know? So I'm just saying that focus on the whole. And this by itself is a conversation that could take 2 hours easily. Why? Why do we need to? Because fundamental change occurs when we learn to see from the whole, and that is the whole. So, in other words, if you were to fall in love with our planet, really, you know that feeling of falling in love? Imagine that you appreciate the beauty of this planet. You are conscious of the fact that there's only one. It is an absolutely beautiful place. It creates an emotion in you. And you realize what that is, and what that is the glue that brings it all together. There is not that many conference board meeting that talks about it. But the fact is, it's in our every life. I want to show you this video clip, and that's for you. You see, what I've created is an emotion. It's an emotion. And today, and in tomorrow's world, the product that you produce, the product that you're going to be producing, and you could say this to your clients, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to create an emotions that are going to be creating a loyalty to your product and to your company. It will have to be coming from something else, and that something else is who you are as an organization. Creating an emotions about who you are as an architectural firm, and when people sense of you that you're getting it, that you're true in your heart, true in the heart of design, but also to your heart of wanting to make a difference and wanting to be part of the solution, it makes all the difference in the world. So as future business people or actual business people today, I tell you, keep that in mind. And that is, to me, a great, great graphic design experience. Just changing the words. It's a beautiful day, but I can't see it. Wow. Influence. So, sustainability has to be an emotional thing, not just a mechanical thing. All right. And our minds are like parachute. They work so much better when they're open. And so we have to open our mind and open our hearts, and that's where we have a fantastic experience, a great emotion. You see, a lot of people think that human beings don't have too much empathy, that we're all about wars and we're all about, in fact, what I just showed you, and I was just looking a bit at you, and you all had an emotion because you have empathy. So to think that in sustainability cannot be sold to people, I tell you, it is possible through emotions. Sustainability will never take place. Sustainability living will never take place without the wisdom of women. I have 2 daughters, 18 and 19. I love it. But I know I have so much to learn from them. I'm left brain. They're right brain. And it's not that all women are right brain, not at all. But your perspective is unique. And we need it. Maybe we have been able to survive barely throughout this 2,000 years without the contribution of women, but this is over. It has to be over. Look at where we are. So I'm saying we are where we are because we only put men left brain in charge of the world. And that's the change. And through women, wisdom, we have a better chance to do it and do it right. So we have to invite women at the table as an equal partner and just shut up and listen. So I was asking a friend of mine, how can I change the way I think? Right? How can I change the way I think? So I'm gonna show you an exercise, and you could decide. But paradigm shift for inclusion of ideas of all humans, of all species, all generation. Now, the exercise is the following. You look at this individual, and you ask, he has nothing to do with me. He doesn't look anything like me. But what I want you to do is this. Ask yourself the question. Look at him in the eyes and say, what's in him that's in you? And what's in you that's in him? The more you're going to ask yourself that question in the most profound way, you're going to realize that he breathes the same air. And by the way, he expressed love the same way that you express love. And he expressed sadness and sorrow the same way you express sadness. And he has to heat. He has to have. The more you ask yourself the question, and look at her. She does not shop on Fifth Avenue in New York, but she knows about life. What's in me that's in her? And what's in her that's in me? Now, if by asking that questions to you, I've just played a trick on you. Really, I did. What is it? Because if you did that exercise, if you keep doing that exercise, you will have changed the way you think. And it's not because you have a name that you know the person. I remember when I was a kid and people were telling me, that's a bird. I thought I knew the bird. Because I had a definition of a word, then I sensed that I knew that it was a bird. So I show you that picture, you don't know her. If I say you that's Marta, you'll think that you know her more just by knowing her name, and yet it's not true. It's just a trick. And that satisfies us sometimes. But when you ask the question, what's in her that's in me, and what's in me that's in her, it changes everything. All right. You could ask the same questions to those. What's in them that's in me? What's in me that's in them? We drink the same water. We breathe the same air. There's a lot that we have in common. Why? Because we live on the same planet and we live on the same rules of nature. We feel sometimes that we are excluded from it, that there's nature over there. I ask people, close your eyes, think about nature. And they close their eyes and, you could do it. Think of nature. Not a single time has somebody has ever told me afterwards that says, what did you think? And they think about a lake, a mountain, or something. But nobody has ever told me, I am nature. People say, I'm going to see nature this weekend. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to go to the mountain. But in fact, we never see ourselves as part of nature. And once we start thinking that way differently, everything is possible. So what's the essence? I showed this painting. I love that painting, Van Gogh. Why? You know that chair? You could buy that chair at Walmart, $19.95. There's always a 95 cents. It's never 20. All right. That painting is worth 24 million. Why? Because Van Gogh has been able to express the essence of the chair. That maybe there was an old a grandmother that was knitting for a grandchild. Or maybe there was a grandfather on that chair that was telling stories about their family. And that he captured the essence of the chair. That's why it's worth $24 million. And mine at home is only $19.95. So, what is the essence of your organizations? What do you want to stand for? A lot of people at Interface, they think that the essence is because we have cool carpet. Cool carpet means that all our products are climate neutral. And I don't want to get into it because it would take some time, but I'll tell you, all our products are climate neutral. And people think, oh, the essence of Interface Floor is they have re-entry, meaning that we have a system of recuperating all the old carpet and recycling it. And yes, we're coming to Mexico. We wanted to test this in the States to see whether it's viable. Now that we know how, now that we know that it's viable, we will apply in Canada, we will apply in Europe, but depending on the country, the solution, the technical solutions, it may be different from one country to the next. So, re-entry. People think that this maybe is the essence of Interface. LCA, EPD, maybe they sell our product. Because a lot of architects, a lot of designers like our product because of what it's designed, the patterns and the colors and all that stuff. But in fact, the essence of our company is in our collective purpose. And if you sense this in the way that I talk to you. So, purpose, determine it to be part of the solution. It's in our way of thinking, and it's our emotional engagement, and it's working to make a difference, and it's the way that we feel, and it's the way we act. You could do the same. But that's why people buy and support us. It's not just because of the product. Einstein, I love Einstein. He said, not everything that can't be counted count, and not everything that count can be counted. What do I mean? See this iceberg? Your product, your services as an architect, this is what your customer sees of you. It's the iceberg. But if they were to sense what you are, then you would win. But what would they say about you? Not your service, but who you are, what you stand for. When people sense of you, I'll give you an example, Patagonia. Most people know about Patagonia. Patagonia is privately owned. And the CEO of Patagonia is the wildest guy I've ever met in my life. Really, he's special. But he says, we don't want to grow as a company. We don't want to grow. We make fabric, we make clothing for outdoor. We don't want to grow. We want to be better at doing what we do by using more recycled material and be sustainable in our practices in the product that we make. Me, when I heard him say that, it gave me a little window of who they were, or who they are as an organization. I buy Patagonia because of it. It's an emotional. By the way, the downside to that, they grow because of it. So, all I'm saying is, 70% of what people could see of you, or 30% of what people see of you is one thing, but 70% of what they could feel from you is extremely important. I've talked about this. When I asked people, I said, well, actually what I said is can you think about something that somewhere you'd rather be today instead of being here? And I ask people, and people come back and says, the beach. I'd rather be on the lake. I'd rather be here. But I asked people, I said, who would rather be there? Who designs? Do you think that people could actually contribute intellectually, emotionally when they're in a box like this? So it is important from a design perspective, an architectural perspective, to be able to express the story, the emotion of this organization. And if the organization doesn't quite get it, what they are, it helps them discover all of what they are and reflect that in the architecture, in the design, and bring people to cooperate, do design to cooperate. The big challenge for design today is to mix the people that are in their 20s with the people that are in their 50s and in between, and everything in between. Why? The people that are in their 50s, they want to have a closed office on the corner of the building, and the young people want to cooperate. They want to have a space where they're going to be cooperating with each other, collaborating with each other, talking about their project, etc. They don't want walls. They just want to contribute. That's and the challenge for design. And it's using sustainability to create an environment that facilitates that. People don't want to be led. People don't want to be managed. People want to be inspired. How good are you at inspiring people has everything to do with your conviction. It has everything to do with what you believe. Biomimicry. Okay. I want to introduce you to Janine Benes. She's the woman, a biologist, that wrote the book Biomimicry. And let me introduce you to her. I'd like her to introduce to you what is biomimicry. So I'm going to do the same little game here. Ooh. Okay. I had to download everything this morning. There she is.
We're the only species that digs up the Earth's crust and then turns it into toxic waste. How are other organisms meeting their needs? And has anyone ever thought of asking them for advice? In a book I wrote called Biomimicry, I met people who are doing just that. Biomimicry is the process of learning from and then emulating life's genius. After 3.8 billion years, life knows what works and what lasts here on Earth. Mimicking these designs and strategies, their recipes, could change the way we grow food, harness solar energy, run our businesses, even the way we...
All right.
There is hunger for us to be reconnected.
Okay. I'll tell you what she's saying. Basically, is to say, we could learn from nature. And we could learn from nature if we know what to look for. I was saying to somebody, you could imitate nature, meaning you take a flower, a leaf, and you make a pattern on a piece of fabric, on a piece of carpet. That's not biomimicry. I'll tell you what biomimicry is. You see these? They're all look alike. I want you to understand that in nature, every shape has a purpose. Every color has a purpose. And every pattern has a purpose. Do we know it? No. Biologist knows it. Do I know it? Now I know, but I mean, for a long time I didn't know. Janine asked me, what is the purpose of the shape of this specific leaves, which is a oak leaf? I said, I don't have a clue. She says, the design of the leaf is to allow the sunlight to penetrate the tree and give sunlight to other species of trees that are not as tall as that tree. Cooperation, collaboration. And it's been designed that way to accommodate that, and there's a lot of space between the branch of that tree to accommodate that. So it's to say, another fundamental belief that we have that is so wrong is that everything has to do with competition in the world, and it's not true. Nature rewards cooperation and collaborations much more than it rewards competition. I'm not saying that there is no competition. I'm saying, of course, there is competition. Ask a zebra that runs from a lion. He knows that he needs to run fast. And there's competition. But I'm saying to you that in nature, generally speaking, it rewards more cooperation and collaboration than it rewards competition. So we asked her, how does nature design a floor? Now, right off the bat, if you're a textile company in Georgia that makes carpet and you're hiring a biologist to help you think differently, you're already different. You're already thinking differently, just going after her. So she was telling to us, you see, random beauty. Nature, random, beauty. All of this is similar but not the same. Similar but not the same. We were making carpet tile exactly every tile needed to be the same all the time, because otherwise it would look terrible, patchy, ugly, okay? She said to us, you see, these are all barge, they're all the same. They have different purpose of their structure and their design, but they're not the same, but they are alike. Through this, she told us that we were absolutely insane to make carpet tile religiously look exactly the same. And we said, yeah, okay. So now 52% of our product is based on biomimicry. And what is it? You see these tiles? They're all different from one another. Color, texture, and also pattern. You see, the beauty about this, in 3 years from now, something happens to one tile. You could pick up the tile, put a new one in, and your eyes are not going to see the difference between the old one and the new one, because they're not the same from the get-go. They are different from a color, a texture, and a pattern perspective. So your eyes is not going to see the difference between an old tile and a new tile. That is a huge difference. Every competitors that we have try to copy us. But we've patented the concept, not the pattern, but the concept. And we won. That created a huge differential for Interface. So sustainability helped us think differently, innovate, and create a differential for our company, and solve a lot of issues for our customers. Okay, you see this? What color do you think that bird is? Now, maybe blue, maybe yellow, maybe green. Huh? If I had a big button, I would press it and say, wrong answer, all of you. Okay, that bird is really that color. The only reasons why you see color is because it's the reflection of the light. It's the shape of molecule of that feather and everything that is reflecting the light differently. Therefore, you see the color. Blue does not exist as a pigment in nature. I have blue eyes, but it's a reflection of light. It's not pigment. Wow. What does that mean to us? Well, we thought about, okay, what if we create a carpet that when you walk in the morning, it's at 8 o'clock, this is the color, and at 9 o'clock, it's starting to change, and by 10 and 11 o'clock, and 1 o'clock, and 12 and 1, and it's red. So as the sun is moving, and the reasons why we're thinking that is because you all would prefer to be outside than inside. So what's outside that could be inside? So a lot of architects and designers have asked me, says, okay, I get it, but how am I going to match this room? Which color am I going to take to match the carpet if the carpet is going to be changing colors? And then my reply to that is, it's a detail. It's not for you, but it is for me. I'm so passionate about the fact that we could create something that could change colors, because that's interesting for people. Michael Pierce is an architect. He was in Zimbabwe, Africa, and he applied the principles of biomimicry as an architect for a building. And the first question, he was given a contract to build a huge building, 13 floor high. And he asked the question, who lives there? Automatically when I say, who lives there, you thought of saying a population. That's not what he meant. Who lives there? He went to see the termites. What he wanted to know about the termites is how do they survive? Because the termites inside the termite mounds, inside it has to be 23 degrees Celsius. 5 degrees up or down, they die. Quite an incentive. All right, so outside here, it's 35, 39, 40 degrees Celsius during the day, and at night is about 15 Celsius. How do they maintain 23 Celsius inside? No air conditioning, no heating system. That was the question. That's biomimicry. So he dissected this, understood what it was. So the air comes from the side, it gets into the earth, and then it's expelled from the chimney and right in the middle here. He created a sketch of the building, trying to figure out how the air could circulate. That is the building. This is the true building in Zimbabwe. This is Michael Pierce. This is 13th floor high. These are the intakes, the air intake, and all the chimneys in the middle. This building in Zimbabwe doesn't have air conditioning, doesn't have heating system, and yet inside it's always 22, 23 degrees Celsius. That is a good example of biomimicry application. There's tons of those. Okay, since we have the time, guys, we love those. We like the cars. Whatever, flash, whatever, you know, we love it. But really, who buys these cars? What is the message? I'll tell you what it is. I have it and you don't. Basically, that's what it is. It's just to show I could spend $300,000 on a car. And you say, do you really like driving it? Now imagine this in Mexico City with potholes frequently on 1 mile. You'd be like a bouncing ball in that car. Yet there's some people that want to buy that car in Mexico City or Montreal for that matter, because our roads are just as good as yours. So why do people want to buy that? It's because to express something about themselves. My point is this. As long as we're going to allow stuff to define the essence of what we are, we're never going to get there. So I don't want to show you the cards. Show me who you are. There's a great exercise. One guy was asking, and who are you? The person says, let's say, I'm Roberto. Really? So he wrote down Roberto, R-O-B. Are these letters you? And the guy says, of course it's not me. No, those are just letters. It's my name. So who are you? And the guy starts to tell the story that he was born in 1952 in some place around the world, you know, I was born there. And then I did that, and I went to that college, and he says, whoa, 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 you're telling me a story. But who are you? Oh, yeah, that's true. That's a story. Yeah. Who are you? The more, and when you allow these things to define who you are, that's a problem. Because I want to be fair to the guys, now you know where I'm going. Why do women need to have 30 pair of shoes, or at least wish they had 30 pair of shoes? You know? And then the question is it for seduction? Then I have to reveal a big secret to you. Us guys, we don't care about your shoes at all. Really, at all. So, why? It's because when I wear my Prada, I feel better about myself. And when I have the matching the bag, I know that all the women around me are watching my bag and my shoes, and they're saying, wow, that's Prada. As long as we're going to allow these stuff to define the essence of what we are, we're never going to get there. That doesn't mean to say you shouldn't have nice shoes and nice matching person, whatever. That's not what I'm saying. It's just not allowing it to define who you are. That's basically it. All right. So, that was, oh, I like that. Think of it this way. If I dream, and if I have a dream, and I'm the only one who has that dream, it's just a dream. But if we all have that dream, then it's the beginning of a new society, of a new reality. And it's so true. This is books that I read that I would invite you to read. Urgent Message from Mother. All women should read the book, and all men should read the book. But it's about women. It's a woman that told a story about women. Why is it yesterday, in some cases still today, why is it that women are still locked up in a closet by men? And it's that story. It's beautiful. Capra, Fridtjof Capra, The Web of Life, it explains systems, the natural system. How does this planet works from a systemic perspective? Great read. This one, very interesting if you're in business, Firms of Endearment, and the subtitle of it is How Great Organizations Profit from Emotions, Passion, and Purpose. And it compares companies that are doing it, that understands it, that offers and treats people, their suppliers, their employees, their customer, the same as their shareholders. And it's fantastic. And you read this and you truly understand and you ask yourself, who am I working for? Are they close to this? So it's a great, and I could send you that slide just to keep this. Ishmael is a wonderful book. This is a great book. Great friend of mine, Bob Willard. Necessary Revolution is for people that works in companies where the upper management don't get it. What would be the strategy to change that? How do you get them there? So I'll send you this. So normally I close with a video, but I don't have the video. And the video is about, the question of the video is, why are we here? Not in this class, but on this planet. And the answer is this: everything in this world has a purpose. And our purpose maybe is to make sure that we will protect the earth. We will protect nature as opposed to destroying it. So maybe the purpose of us, why are we here, is to protect it. And right now we're not quite living it to it. But I'm hoping that more and more people are going to get a level of consciousness that will get it. And I promise them happiness, a better sense of life than anything that they've experienced before. So I would like to open now for questions, and I'd like to engage you, really engage me and ask me questions. This, by the way, and I always say this is like Vegas. Whatever happens here, stays here. So there is no weird questions. There is no questions that you're going to ask that tells you that you don't know too much about sustainability. It's not important. You're like a door, and I'm going to meet you where you are. And I'm going to try to answer the questions from where you are. So, it always takes a brave individual, that will raise its hand and ask a question. So let's talk about it. Ask any questions. If I don't have the answer, I'll tell you. But I'll try. Any questions? Yes.
Initially, you talked about something like from inspiration or something like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I have a question. How can we maintain us with inspiration?
That's good.
What's your recommendation?
Very good questions. The answer is self-replicating seed, meaning inspirations that drives your life is constantly creating the energy to go further up. Your profound reasons to exist is to be happy in life. Once you align that vision, and you don't think about it every moment of the day, but once you get it, it creates an energy that always drives you. That energy never fails. You could lose it. It could be, not lose, it could be less. The loss of a dear one, a daughter, a son, or a parent. The energy is not going to be as strong on this, but that's the same energy that's going to get you out of that feeling, out of that suffering. So you see, I'm associating sustainability with a choice of lifestyle. And I don't want you to think that I'm a priest, that I'm a, whatever. I'm a spiritual guy. I am. But I mean, it is not that. It's just we cannot go to work and just work and then be somebody else outside. And that's the young generation like you. What I like about it, they dress like they feel. They don't want to wear a jacket, a tie, and a tie. Now a tie. Who wears ties? Is there somebody with a tie? Okay. A tie. From a life cycle perspective, a tie has no purpose whatsoever. Why do we make ties? Really? It has no purpose. And it's extremely toxic to make because it's polyester. And to dye polyester, it takes a lot of dye-site, and that dye-site ends up in water. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it because I don't want to wear a tie. But it's so true.
We're working for this company, and they hire us to make their company sustainable. So we'll be working with all their employees, and we created a green portfolio. Now we're ready to present to the owners. And the owners already warned the employees. Oh my God, these consultants are coming. They want us to be green, are they going to change it? So they're kind of afraid that we're going to start presenting our findings and our evolution in the whole thing. So what kind of questions would you ask to inspire them or to move them or to take the fear out of becoming green?
I hear you. And that's such a great question. If it's the CEO that hired you, yeah. Well, first, you have to have a conversation with the CEO. Says, how deep are you? Are you wanting to be sustainable because the market forces you, pushes you to be? Because you don't want to be seen as being part of the problem? And you'd rather be seen as part of the solution? Maybe you're going to sell more stuff? Is that the driver? If it is, I'll send you a book. You need to read, and you need to open this here. You cannot just... But if you are this, you got it. Then the second question you ask, do I have the team to execute this? Are the team around me really on board with me, or am I the only one who sees this? Then if the answer is, no, I don't have that team, okay. Then train those people. Give them a chance to experience, and let's see who within those really are getting it and who are not. You got to know this. Then you look at the mid-management, and you have to say to them, and I'll tell you what Ray Anderson told us, how he did with us. Are you ready for this? 1994, he gets the question. 1994, he changed the company. He measures everything. He wants us to measure everything. Okay, good. In 1995, we start to improve. 10% year over year. That's what he wants us to do. He gets us in a big room in Atlanta, the world of interface, meaning Asia, Europe, everybody, management. And he says, it's going to be simple. We're going to change. We're going to have fun changing. I started to try to inspire myself to do this, and I was not there at all. At all. Me, I was a business guy that wanted to make money. End of story. And then it changed my life because I saw it. Because I'm not a rock. So then I try to explain to people, when I said the car, the tires and all this? Well, okay, put a bicycle in your driveway. Put it all apart, okay? Take all the wheels and everything apart. You'll be able to bring it all back together and it's going to go, right? Try to do this with your dog. No way. It's going to be killed. Once people understand that the mechanic and our mechanical way of thinking, there's a difference when you're talking about humans and when you're talking about mechanics. And that's a good way to express that. So you may want to use this. But you need to check where they are. Find them where they are. Don't argue with them. Say, I just want to hear. Now, what do you think about this? Is this true to you? Ask question, get the feeling. And then, if you could, invite people, business people, that he could refer to, and let him talk to them. I would volunteer to do presentation to organization. I do it, and I do it freely. I'm not asking money. I'm not in for the money. I want to share what I have. I want to share what our experience is. And I'd like to meet people and say, here's what it has been for us. Here's the benefit from a business perspective, but here's a benefit from me personally. Here's the benefit from our industry, and you could be that leader because you have the potential to be another Ray Anderson. What's your legacy? How old is that person? How old is he? About?
65.
Good. That's perfect. What's your legacy? What would you like to leave behind? What's your legacy? Have you thought of your legacy? Do you want to just leave money? Tell them this. I told you, 2 daughters, and I'm living in the United States of America, right? I feel that I've bought 2 first-class tickets for my 2 daughters, but it's on the Titanic. What good is it going to give me? Maybe spending less money and give them a life survival course would have been better than the 2 first-class tickets on the Titanic. What do you want to leave behind? Because at that point, I tell you, it's not the money that's going to make a difference for your daughters. It's the way they think, and it's the way they're going to feel this. So talking to them and bringing a business person, it helps a lot, because now they have a reference of success, and that helps. Yeah. Hold on, just a minute, I'm going to be right next to you. Okay.
Probably it's a question of context, but I would like to know how is this changing the market, and how does sustainability is changing capitalism, because now we're talking about emission zero and not producing waste, and that is because we are realizing that the economic system that we are like living isn't working. So are we in the process of a new economic system, or what's next?
I think so. I think so. I think we're going to go to, you know, this constant growth, exponential growth. We treat the economy as if it was this thing. It's alive, and it's our master. If the economy is down, my God, the President of the United States will lose his job. That's how important that is. But the fact is that it's driving us. We're not driving the economy is driving us. And there's got to be a balance on this, and I don't think we're there. I think we've got a long way to go. But you're right, and I think that the principles of business will change. What they believe to be true about what their accomplishment is as business is wrong, and the world is going to tell them it is wrong. There is no business plan that makes sense that support brown. In terms of resilience in time, if we're out of water, how are you going to produce Coca-Cola? There's some countries that have Coke, but they don't have water. You know, and people are starting to scratch their heads and say, that's weird, eh? We don't have water, but we have Coke. Think about it. So a lot of people are starting to talk about it, and they're asking corporations to be more than what they wanted to be at first. They want to be responsible. When I said that the product is not enough, you saw me, I'm an Apple guy, big time. I like the design, I like the conviviality, I like everything about it. But you know what? When I heard that they were making those stuff in China and that they were mistreating the employees and that, you know what? That emotions that I had for them went down significantly. But 3 weeks later, Apple announced that they are forcing the owners to increase the salary and give them more dignity to these individuals that works in that. Now, my emotions start up again. You know, but as much as I love their product, I would have dumped them like a bag of potato, because I have principles, and I cannot buy or support a company that doesn't. And more people are becoming like me. You had a question?
You made it clear that money isn't like the center and the revolting like subject of this, right? It shouldn't be a barrier. It shouldn't be an obstacle. Maybe you answered the question I was about to ask when you answered her, but maybe more for me, changing a bit. What has been, for Interface, the biggest, and I'm looking for a name maybe, the biggest person, the biggest obstacle, the biggest...
Obstacle or...
for this change to happen?
Okay, the biggest positive was Ray Anderson, without a doubt. Without a doubt. The biggest obstacle is the mind and the belief of some people. That was the biggest obstacle. And you could change somebody in doing something different, but if you haven't changed their profound belief, they're never going to produce all of what is possible through their strength, because they're not in it. But then how do you do this? Well, I would ask the CEO, how good are you at inspiring people? Are you just going to tell them what to do with a fist on the table and say, by God, it's this way or the I way? If that's the case, it's never going to happen. Never. But then again, though, if you really want to inspire people, and how do you do that, inspire people? I'll tell you how. Allow them to be what they are. Trust them. Trust the intention. Create a vision. Create a profound purpose. And that purpose is not just for me to be rich. Let's create a culture within our company that respects and offers dignity to our people. Interesting. And when I say safety, I'm not talking about wires that are on the floor and that could trip and hurt you. That's not safety for me. Safety for me is to allow somebody to be all of what it is, whole of what that person is. Is he gay? Fine, let's celebrate. He's a Muslim, he's a this, he's a that, whatever it is. I was saying to you, you're different than I am, and you're different than I am, and the difference that you are is your gift to this organization. We need to celebrate people that way. And we may not agree on something, but I will always trust your intention, that you had the right intention. The execution was not as good, but the intention was that right. Perfect. Let's move on. That's how I feel. That's how I manage our company. For what I'm responsible, this is the way I run it. We took Latin America, 12 million. 6 years later, close to 40. I don't speak Spanish, I don't speak Portuguese. Why are we getting that success? Because people get my intention. Without a word, without the proper word, they sense it. It works. Did I answer the question? What okay, I didn't give you I'll give you the name. His name was John Smith, a big optical. Now, technology was an obstacle for us. How did we get the money? The obstacle was the money. Well, we said if we could save enough, we thought that we had $70 million that we could save. That $70 million we reinvest in ourselves. That started the ball rolling. And now it's $500 million, so we have money to invest in our wanting to become green. So, any other question? Yes?
Could you share with us some of the changes that you need to go through for the goals in the future?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe some,
A goal?
like you, in 2020, you
Yes.
want to get,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you need to do in order to get there?
We need, good questions. The recycling thing, we need to be at 100%, and we're not 100%. So right now, all the face on the nylon 6 is 100% from non-renewable, non-virgin material. So we don't use virgin material for all the nylon 6 that we use. The backing is about, today is about 67, 68% made out of recycled. Okay? So there's some left. But that's the product. But then you have to look at your process. We're still using gas. We're using methane that came from our landfill. Okay. We're using windmills and everything else that is supplied to us. We're offsetting some of the things that we do, but we don't want to offset. We want to be at zero. That's where, so emission is one of them. We have reduced our emission in some cases at 67, 68%, so we have some ways to go, but we know how to do it. We think we know how to do it, but the point is that we don't know how to do it everywhere in the world at the same time. Because what the United States or Canada or Mexico offers us, maybe Argentina or Africa doesn't. So we have to be flexible in the way that we're going to address Africa, for instance, and the way we're going to do business there. We don't ship everything from the United States. We are in China, we're in Thailand, we're in Australia. We want to be in Latin America in the next 2 years, and we want to be in India with mills. And we are in Europe, we are in Holland, and we are in England. Why? Because we want to be local, because we want to learn from the local. And we learn a lot. How to do. How to recycle. The solution of recycling carpet in Mexico is going to be totally different than what we do in the States. We have the technology. We're just proving it now. We're proving it in Europe. If it works, we'll bring it here. So the challenge is this. But let me rephrase something. We're not on a goal. A goal is something that you reach. But a mission, you never reach a mission. We're always going to be. And after we get there, we want to be restorative, give back. So that's really how our heads is working. Did I answer the question? Yeah, okay, good. Yes?
Are you selling the service instead of the flooring?
Are we what?
As an object? Are you selling the service of
Yes.
flooring instead of the floor?
Okay. That's a great question. Why? What's the purpose of carpet? That's a good question. Why should we use so much energy and materials and chemicals and not to make carpet? What's the purpose of a carpet? We're asking ourselves that question. Number one, to answer that question, we're now getting more attributes. We're creating smart floor. I'll give you an example of this. What is a smart floor? A smart floor is you have a hospital or you have senior homes and you have a carpet tile, and underneath that there'll be something, a tactile with something special in it. If somebody falls from the bed to the ground, it'll automatically alert somebody. It'll go to a central and say, somebody just fell on the floor. It is for us to design a way that the floor could be helping vision impaired people. They have a cane, it's white. They have a receptive, and they're going tick, 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 tick in the building, and the cane will tell them whether they're on their right way to go to the office where they want to go. All kinds of things that the floor could talk to you, in all kinds of. A floor, you have an office, and the problem is air quality, and it's due to lack of maintenance on the floor. The floor will tell you next morning whether the vacuum cleaner has been passed in the most specific place where it needs to be passed and not waste money on the areas where you don't need a vacuum cleaner every week. So the floor will give you a lot more information than it does today, and it's not going to be just practical, but it's also going to be flexible and it's going to be practical. Now, the product itself, the right question is, what are you going to sell the product? And the answer to that is we'd rather not. We'd rather sell the use of the product, but keep the ownership of the product. Why? Because it's our raw material for the next product. So we would like to lease the product. Lease the product and keep the ownership of the product so that we could bring it back and recycle it. But we won't have a choice. Today, there's a lot of people that have our carpet or other type of carpet, but we don't know where they are. We don't know what it is. Now we will know. We'll know everything everywhere where it is, and we'll just pick it up and recycling it. So that's where we think that we have justifications for our product, is that we're not going to take any virgin material. We're going to use and harvest all the old material and create a new material with renewable energy. So all of this is a plus for nature and not a negative. That's what we want to be. And we're close. I think we're very close.
In terms of
Cleaning the carpet, yes.
What, are you innovating in some way?
Yeah, we're innovating. We're insisting that people clean their carpet. In some cases, it's innovation, I tell you, because they don't clean the carpet. They just think, look at this. So what we're doing, though, is helping them. First of all, the chemical that is used to clean the carpet, is it the right one? Does it have emission? Does it have a toxicity? So we're now promoting products to clean the carpet that don't have emission and don't have toxicity. That's number one. Number two, the mechanics of it. A vacuum cleaner. I see big companies, they have vacuum cleaners and it goes, it doesn't do anything. But there's people with that thing going around, you know, and it doesn't do it. So the brush. We think that we could extend the life of the carpet from 6 years to 15 years and true maintenance. So we're helping, really, we have a series of machine to wash the carpet or to vacuum the carpet. We don't make the machine, we don't spec it, but we know which one is good, so we're promoting that. Because part of our life cycle assessment, maintenance is in it. Because you have to see what is the impact of the product while it's at use. Well, if you have to clean it, you have to count into the fact that you have to have products to clean it and equipment.
And would you say that you are recycling your carpet, but you have plans to recycle other type of carpets?
Yeah. We already recycle other types of carpet. The reason is this. If we recycle only our carpet, we're leaving behind a lot of other products. So we found a way to recycle other carpet that we didn't make, but that could be recycled into our product. And now in Canada, we've opened this up, meaning the technology that we've experienced in the States, now it's been given to an organization in Canada, but every manufacturer of carpet in Canada will be able to say that they recycle their carpet. So it's not going to be exclusive to us. Right now it is, but very soon it won't be. We don't want it to be an exclusivity to us. We want everybody to recycle their carpet. Recycling is two things. Us, product into products. If we're stuck, we'll burn it to create energy. And that may be what we're going to do in Mexico for a short period of time. Just create the energy, and we're thinking of the cement company that needs a lot of energy, and instead of sucking up the electricity, maybe, or whatever other substance that they're using, maybe they could burn the old carpet, which is not in landfill, which is a good thing, and it creates energy for them, good thing. Bad thing, because we lose the molecule. We'll never get it back. It's disappeared. And we need the molecule to make the new carpet. So we're very selective of what we're going to do. And if we have to, we'll do it. But if we don't have to, we'd rather recycle it. But we want to open it up. We don't want to be the only one that says, oh, we're recycling. Everybody has to have. We have the technology, we have the know-how, and we're sharing it. What's in it for us? The fluff comes back to us. The backing comes back to us. But the other companies don't reuse their backing anyway. We're the only one. So it fits them, it fits us. Okay? Yep.
You were saying that you're going to come to Mexico and also you're going to Latin America. What's the plan about carpet there?
We would like to, both. We are already here. I mean, we've been here, we've been in Latin America for at least 15, 20 years, selling our product, but we're not here. We're shipping from the States. I would like to see a place in Latin America where we're going to have a mill and producing locally. Produce locally, recycle locally. It doesn't make sense to bring everything and ship all those carpet back to LaGrange, Georgia in a container of old carpet. That doesn't make any sense. So we need to recycle it locally, and the product of it could be sold locally to the car manufacturers for the fiber. And the backing, there could be other applications, but we want it. So that we'll bring it back. And I think it'll be worthwhile financially or environmentally. It'll make sense for us to bring it back. Okay? You've been great. You're fantastic. And one of the reasons why I like to come here, because every year that I've been here, the people here, your energy is feeding me because you have an interest. You are engaged. Intellectually, emotionally, you're engaged. And I just love it. So thank you very much for allowing me. Oh, another question.
What is the question that this client asked Mr. Anderson that made him change?
In 1993, his name was John Picard in California that was building a green building. LEED didn't exist at the time. And he wanted to create a green building, so he asked Interface, what do you do for the environment? And we didn't know what to answer. Ray didn't know what the answer is. We complied with all regulation. That was the answer. That was the wrong answer, but that's the only answer we had. But when he read the book, he had a sense of saying, now I know how to do this. And that's what changed. But it was one guy, John Picard. And John Picard is still among us. I mean, we consult with him. He's challenging us. There's a bunch of people in the world that challenge us to become better and better every year. So thank you very much.